What a great crowd. Welcome, all of you. The only normal people in all of New York are right here. Welcome back, our live audience show. Thank you for joining us on Hannity. We begin, though, tonight with a Fox News alert. Breaking tonight, Hunter Biden will likely be indicted by the end of this month. I know you... Yeah! Wow. But there's a lot more to this. Now, Special Counsel David Weiss is seeking at least one gun charge against Hunter. But make no mistake, let me be very clear up front here. This is not a cause for celebration, just not because you don't want to ever see anybody arrested or have hard times in their life, but it's hardly even a step in the right direction when we talk about justice being blind. Hunter is now facing prosecution only because David Weiss got caught giving Hunter Biden that get-out-of-jail-free card in the form of what was the sweetest of all sweetheart deals in the history. No jail time, no serious charges, a gentle slap on the wrist, full immunity hidden deep into the plea deal, trying to get that past the judge. And remember, the original plan was no charges at all whatsoever, and then the IRS whistleblowers made that plan obsolete and impossible. So David Weiss came up with Plan B that included immunity, and that became the next best option. No jail time, no real charges. It was all going according to plan until that Delaware federal judge started asking important and pivotal questions. The best question, in my mind, was to the prosecutor. Have you ever seen a diversion agreement, talking about the gun portion of the agreement, that is so broad that it encompasses crimes and other cases? They tried to bury the immunity in the gun provision of the plea deal. The prosecutor had to reply, "No, Your Honor." Now, ultimately, the judge and the defense, they rejected the deal. The judge rightfully so, because she didn't see that deal till that morning, and that never had been given out to anybody else. And the defense, they wanted to get out of jail free card with that immunity. Now, equally important, we have now learned from both the IRS and FBI whistleblowers that, in fact, Weiss and others purposely were slow-walking the investigation into Hunter Biden for years, and that Weiss, as you all know, we've reported it, he let the statute of limitations run out on very serious tax felonies for a lot of important years, especially with Burisma money. Now, these are felonies, you think anybody with the last name Trump, they would ever get this type of treatment? I don't think so. They never even interviewed Hunter Biden in a 4+ year investigation. After the entire Biden family that was tipped off about the FBI, no investigation, no interview of Hunter, no future interrogation. So here we are. Either David Weiss, now special counsel, is the most incompetent lawyer in the world, or this was all very intentional. I happen to believe the latter. Naturally, Merrick Garland just promoted Weiss. Now he's the special counsel. The guy already had 5 years to bring charges against Hunter. And by the way, the evidence is overwhelming and, in my view, incontrovertible. The guy who seemingly helped Joe and Hunter evade justice, he's now running the special counsel investigation, simultaneously protecting himself and Merrick Garland. Now, David Weiss and the Democrats of the DOJ, they probably believe the gun charge will appease critics. They think that we're obsessed with just Hunter Biden, and they couldn't be more wrong. Yeah, we are concerned with justice and equal application of the law and equal justice under the law, and that applies to Hunter Biden. But the more serious investigation is happening in the House Oversight Committee with James Comer in the House Judiciary and in the House Ways and Means Committee. And that's about Joe Biden, the big guy himself. We now have what we have been unfolding every night on this show, mounting evidence against a sitting president that directly implicates him in what may well be the biggest political scandal in the history of this country. Real influence peddling, bribery, and money laundering allegations, and many of the crimes Hunter is suspected of committing. And this particular gun charge, well, this does not implicate Joe in any way. How convenient. So the big guy, he remains in a bubble for now, safe from any real legal scrutiny for now. Now, mark my words on this. It will stay that way if Biden runs for re-election and the media mob and the Democratic leadership want him to run for president. Because unless the Democrats and their propaganda allies in the media mob decide that Joe needs to go, he's not up to the job, and they prefer another candidate, if a few influential Democrats and a few influential media mob swamp creatures start, well, sounding like me, in other words, when they start telling you the truth for once on these important issues, on the millions of dollars that the Biden family made with no experience at all, cashing in on Joe's name and Joe's position as vice president, if they start reporting all this, that will be the canary in the coal mine, and that means that they're going to try and push Joe out. In the end, it'll be Democrats that push him out, not Republicans. As for now, Merrick Garland, David Weiss, they continue to protect Joe at all costs, even if that means offering up Hunter as a sacrificial lamb. So while David Weiss, well, he pretends to care about a gun charge, we are focused on the real bribery, money laundering, FARA violation allegations that we now have more and more evidence developing every day. For example, let's look at Ukraine. Let's go look at our timeline. October 2015. That's when the Obama White House, well, they decided to give Ukraine $1 billion in loan guarantees because they had made enough progress regarding corruption in Ukraine. Okay, a short time later, December 4th, 2015, same year, Hunter Biden, he is meeting with Burisma executives. They are in Dubai. They were facing a corruption probe by a prosecutor by the name of Victor Shokin. Okay, now, in this particular case, they pleaded with Hunter to get help. They needed help from D.C., Burisma executives. Hunter arranged the call while he was in Dubai with the Burisma executives with his D.C. help. That would be his VP father, Joe. Well, 4 or 5 days later, then Vice President Joe Biden, he happened to be in Ukraine. And as the Obama administration's point person to Ukraine, that's when Joe was supposed to deliver the $1 billion per Obama foreign policy. Instead, Joe decided to leverage that $1 billion, force Ukraine to fire Victor Shokin, the prosecutor investigating, well, Burisma Holdings, the gas and oil giant that was paying his son a ton of money. He gave him 6 hours to fire him. Son of a bee, they fired the guy. Ukraine got their $1 billion in loan guarantees. Burisma stayed in business. Hunter kept getting paid for a job in which he admitted on Good Morning America he had no experience in and was an admitted addict at the time. Now, according to a trusted FBI source, if you go back to the 1023 form that, of course, James Comer's committee had to fight for, they didn't want to hand it over willingly, both Hunter and Joe each accepted $5 million. $5 million for one Biden, $5 million for another Biden. And by the way, it'll take you over 10 years. It'll take you over 10 long years to find out where that money came from before anybody's going to figure it out. Now, we do know that at least 9 Biden family members, including grandchildren, received foreign payments passed through shell corporations identified by Congressman James Comer. Don't you wonder, what did the grandchildren do for all of this money? How did they earn that money? Hunter didn't have experience. How did he earn millions of dollars? You know, we got, millions of dollars, China, Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Romania, Mexico. Now, according to John Solomon, he will join us in a minute. As early as 2015, even the Security and Exchange Commission was receiving alerts about suspicious transactions and fraudulent schemes involving the Biden's transactions. But it wasn't just Ukraine. There were payments, as I said, from China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Romania, Mexico, and others. At the very same time, then Vice President Joe Biden was meeting with many of these wealthy foreigners and oligarchs and Hunter's foreign business partners. They were making his family rich. But Joe had said over and over again as a candidate and a president, he'd never once spoken to Hunter or his brother or anybody for that matter about their foreign business dealings. There were dinners at the Cafe Milano with the former First Lady of Moscow and others. Numerous phone calls, according to Devin Archer, and other communications. Hunter, meanwhile, had a direct line to the White House. He received government emails about Ukraine. They don't want to give them to us. He attended state dinners. He set up White House meetings with a lot of these foreign business partners. And then his father, Joe, well, he lied about all of that. Why would Joe lie about something as critical as that? Now, to top it off, Hunter decided not to pay taxes on what was millions of dollars in income. I guess it was tough for Hunter based on his own communications. He had to give, in his words, half his income to Pops. He told that to his sister in an email that was captured on the laptop from hell. And yet, despite all of this, the special counsel, David Weiss, with all of his special powers, is rounding the corner on a relatively minor firearms indictment after a 5+ year investigation. This is obscene. This is not justice that is blind. This is not equal justice. This is not equal application of our laws. The fix has been in and still is in. Imagine if the names were different. Switch the name Joe Biden and make it Donald Trump. Switch the name Hunter Biden with Don Jr. or Eric or Ivanka or Barron Trump. There is no equal justice, no equal application of our laws. This is corruption through and through, and this is what the Biden protection racket is all about. Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, you know what? This is why we need new people. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.